this is a hot take. LeBron, or now you got me to say this, that Jokic might actually be the best passer, period, in the NBA. Yes,
No,
I know others.
not even close.
Part of it that gets for him is because of playing that center, he's in positions to do more spectacular passes than I think than others are. But as far as knowing where guys are, the number of no-look passes that Jokic throws, he's just constantly throwing no-look passes. He just automatically knows where everyone is on the court and will just throw it for this amazing no-look assist. He does it so often they actually don't even look that impressive anymore because he just doesn't look where guys are like.
So here's my hot take when it comes to passing. Luka this year was a better passer than even the year that James Harden led the league in assists. Because Harden –
Here's my hot take. Harden's a better passer this year than the year he led the league in assists.
Harden does not create passes. His plays create passes. He makes simple reads, and defenses, for some reason, fail to fix on the simple reads. Luka, Jokic, LeBron, Trae Young, they create stuff out of nothing. Harden's not a good passer.
The other thing that passing is hard to put into.
Well, there's more to passing than just standing there and throwing a ball. There's head fakes. There's a lot of stuff. But I agree
it's
about.
hard to quantify because the only real pass statistic we have is assists.
Right.
And the way the NBA counts assists is, again, as someone who tries to make passers in 2K, the way the NBA counts assists is stupid. All right, everyone, welcome. Yes, it is not Saturday, or Sunday, or whenever we normally get these off. We normally get them out on Saturday, but occasionally Sunday. It is not the weekend. It is midweek, yes. We decided that we wanted to get out and actually kind of do a little bit of a focus on basketball as basketball put the Rockets mask down. We only support winners here on Sports in the Podcast.
Well, we definitely ain't supporting the Bucks or the Mavs then, are we?
Yeah.
Hey, we won tonight. It's probably going to be the only game we won in the bubble, but it's going to, we won tonight.
But yes, that's what we're talking about. We are talking about the NBA bubble specifically in this podcast. So we're actually going to jump right in, and that's kind of the best one there. Who's doing really well? Who you're very much impressed by? Who's being dumb and being stupid, and who's kind of surprising you a little bit? So we can start off with what have you got as far as who's winning the bubble? Maybe not necessarily winning games, but winning games can work, like winning the most games, but who's winning the bubble right now?
The Spurs. They're the most, the fact that they're like, oh, all of our big men are injured, and Popovich is just like, oh, okay, well, I'll play only guards. And it's working. That was not what I expected to happen. Watching the Spurs and being like, wow, that's the most exciting team on the floor. That's not normal. It's super fun, though. Keldon Johnson, which out of all the Kentucky guys that came out, he was the one that I was the highest on. Obviously, that was wrong. But he's looking pretty good right now. You got Lonnie Walker's out there. White is finally looking good, I guess, after the World Cup curse that happened on him, where he suddenly forgot how to play basketball when he was playing for Team USA. He's starting to look good again. Murray's been okay he has not recovered very well from that injury. But DeRozan at the 4 being like a really good 4 is very shocking, and I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it.
So the 3 teams that have been the most exciting in the bubble are the Spurs. DeRozan at 4 has been kind of a revelation for them, has been really good. Then another team that's been really good is Houston. They got their 2 big guys in shape, Harden and Westbrook in shape. Both of those guys have been historically really good at making pretty bad teammates have success. And when the 2 of them are in shape and rested, they're going to be a scary first or even a second round opponent for someone. I still, like I said in our return podcast, I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think small ball is sustainable all the way through. But they'll be good. And then, but the team that's really surprised me is, and it shouldn't because they've got the culture that has always demanded excellence, is Miami. Miami has been so good, so strong. I'm about to hit some hot take area. Not only do I believe that Bam Adebayo is the second best player in the Eastern Conference, I believe he is the most complete big man in the NBA since the retirement of Tim Duncan.
Whoa!
And I believe he is the most complete two-way big man since the retirement of Tim Duncan. So, but between the ability to run an offense and not turn the ball over, his ability on the defensive end to switch onto guards and defend the rim at a high level, to be top 5 in the league in double doubles, and score the ball at an efficient pace in a way we have not seen anyone his age do since the last guy even close to him at his age doing stuff won an MVP last year and is expected to repeat this year. So Bam Adebayo is the second best player in the Eastern Conference and the second most and the most complete big man since the retirement of Tim Duncan.
Okay. All right.
So Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis does not play enough. Anthony Davis misses games. Anthony Davis looks out of shape. I will say Anthony Davis has a better mid-range game, for sure. But Anthony Davis cannot run an offense in the way that Bam can.
That's true, but Davis also has like a three-point shot that Bam does not have at all.
Bam's hit about 7 times more three-pointers at this point in his career than Davis did.
I haven't looked up the numbers to check on that, but that's
Davis didn't hit a three-pointer until his 4th year in the league.
In the interest of sounding like Ben.
Is that because Davis? I mean, remember Davis came in when people weren't letting big men were still.
I know.
Like,
and Davis came in with a mid-range shot that was better than Bam's is now. But Davis was not nearly the passer that Bam is. And I don't think Davis has commanded a team. I'll just say it. Davis wasn't getting to the playoffs when he was the number 1 dude. And Bam's not the number 1 dude necessarily. It's still Jimmy in terms of shot attempts, but in terms of touches, in terms of anchoring the defense, in terms of being the leader of the culture, it's Bam.
Are you talking big men in general, or are you talking really power forward, like the power forward position?
Oh, Bam's a center, complete center.
Well, so I mean, I'm going to sit down
forward right now. Though.
I mean,
Bam?
Yeah, because Myers Leonard is technically the starting center.
Myers spots up from 3 and doesn't ever go inside, doesn't ever do anything for the pivot spot.
The reason I asked that, I mean, I get there, and yes, I mean, as you said, he's got some weak spots on his game, that's still there. But in that case, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go the homer point. And it's also a team that actually has been, I've been more impressed because I wasn't sure. I'm going to go to my things. Yes, homer pick, Nuggets. But
I think I still go with Jokic too. Like I'm not
Jokic, if you're
I'm
gonna say
not a homer for the Nuggets.
yes, he's not an all defensive player, but he's not like just because you're not all defense doesn't mean you're a horrible liability at defense. Like, yes, can he
Right.
get by?
And Jokic's shooting is so much better than Bam's, and Jokic's defense is better than Bam's shooting. So I feel like Jokic, even though he's not a maybe super positive defender, he's not hurting you. Bam is hurting you by not being able to shoot.
Not when you run the offense out of him.
Well, but okay, then there's the other spot, running the offense. That was kind of the point that I was going to make as far as a team that's kind of somewhat surprised me. Like when I saw the at least the beginning here, I don't believe they didn't opt out. Like they're in the bubble, but I know the Nuggets are missing a number of most of their guards right now.
Yeah.
And so I saw that. I'm like, well, crap, we literally have no guard. Oh, we're running the ball. Jokic is actually going to bring. Jokic is playing point center. Oh, this is actually working. Oh, this actually, not just you're playing the ball through. No. Jokic is playing point center. That's
not just that there's like a point guard bringing the ball up, handing it to Jokic, and then Jokic is passing. He's literally bringing the ball up the whole time.
He gets it inbound to him, and he's playing point center. Like that's, and I mean, now
I would say the fact that you guys came up with two centers to argue with me on means that the state of the NBA center is in the best spot it's been since 1996.
Well, it's such a weird spot just because of this is where I would almost argue against that. I think it's cool. We've got some great spots. The problem is no one can decide what, and it's part of our moving to positionless basketball. No one can decide what a center is anymore, and no one knows what a center is anymore. So it's hard for it to be a great time for centers when no one actually knows what a center is supposed to do.
It's a scary moment. It's a scary moment when PJ Tucker is legitimately pushing for a top 15 center in the league.
Yeah.
But
we don't know what centers are like
because there's so many different ways to succeed with at that 5 spot right now. Small ball didn't take over in the way that we thought it would, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Jordan.
let me say something real quick. With centers, I think that we need to realize like it's a lot deeper than it used to be. I think you're talking about those 3 are the top 3. Next, I think you would if we're counting.
Well, is Davis a center right now, or is he playing?
And
4?
that's true. I also count Bam as playing 4. So.
But that's
really,
what
Jokic is the best center.
Big because even though he doesn't line up at center, like especially in the modern game and what position center is changed to, Anthony Davis is a center. Like he doesn't. He plays like Jokic, plays that same spot. He'll go low, but then he'll also come out. Like he does what a center does. Yes, we're in an age where there is no more Shaq. There is no more. I'm gonna go down low and just hang out. If you doubt me, go play 2K and try to run that offense. It doesn't work.
Because it's designed not to work now.
But for what it's worth, to refute Jordan's point, Myers Leonard's got a DNP CD today. They started a Olynyk.
Okay.
They
I can see Olynyk as a 4 more than Leonard.
They tend to play either Olynyk or sometimes they'll play Jay Crowder there at the 4 beside him. But I think he's been a center all year.
And maybe that's actually even a better way to look at it is maybe it's less even it's like center definitely means stuff that's weird and different things now, but there's a position of big, which can be a power forward or a center, but then power forward can also be a small forward who plays more in now. Where it used to, you're used to be set up. Your offense was your 2 towers were on either side of the basket, posted up, and then your 2 wings on the outside. That was how it's set up. Where now that power forward is actually playing closer to a wing position, and that's been in the change for a while.
Yeah.
But
But
really
speaking of that,
with
go ahead.
before we move on, the NBA is allowing a lot more versatility with positions, but we had to put in before the bubble. Would you guys have said that those three would be your all-NBA centers, or would you say that Davis has to be a forward?
I would say Davis has not played enough at center in his lineups.
So then who would you put at that other center?
I wouldn't put some, like, honestly, I don't think we can actually make that statement. Like, that statement means nothing. And I somewhat I think they've still got a little bit messed up with the All-Star voting, but, like, again, and the position of big, that's what I'm going to see that position as. That position is big.
Yeah.
In that way, it's different. So Paul Millsap for the Nuggets plays a lot of power forward. He's not a big.
No.
But he plays a lot of power forward. So
Right.
he's different. Whereas Anthony Davis, no. Anthony Davis is big.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see the three, you got, so.
Who would you put as that third center? Because I feel like Davis is a forward.
Davis to me is an all NBA. He is probably a first or second team forward, depending on how you feel about Kawhi. If Kawhi's
so
played
who's your
enough.
third team center?
My third team center is numbers say Embiid.
I was going to say, like, Embiid.
I think there's four choices, and all of them have good negatives to me. To me, Embiid doesn't play a ton of games. That hurts him. He also makes his team worse when he was on the floor, but I think a lot of that has to do with Horford playing at the same time as him. Did not work.
It's terrible roster construction. Terrible.
Right. Gobert, but his offense is not good enough. And then Cat, but his defense is not good enough. And also, there's a reason that they're part of the Delete Eight, and a lot of it has to do with Cat. His leadership's horrible. Sorry, Sean. Don't kill me. Cat's got bad leadership. And then the other one is Porzingis. I think he could get some votes, which is crazy because he didn't get the All-Star team, but I think he could get some votes.
I think Porzingis gets votes because he was a Knick and people knew his name. And I think, that's another, and I'll say that I put Embiid where I kind of put Embiid in that third spot, but that's also because he plays in the East and he was a number one overall pick, so his name gets said a lot. I haven't actually seen him play that much, so honestly, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if this guy's any
numbers would say Embiid just by volume metrics. That's who I would, I guess, pick. But I would not be upset with Gobert because in the games I have watched, I am just thoroughly more impressed with Gobert's output and impact on games than I am with Embiid.
I think, Gobert's a good person to get there because I think they're the next person they go to, and I think, I could see some of you guys picking the Jazz here. Who's losing? Again, maybe not necessarily going to find them. But yes, possibly find themselves out of the playoffs. But who's losing here in the bubble?
Okay, I want to start with this one. Mavs role players are losing. If you are not Luka or KP, you've had an awful bubble. That's pretty much how it's been.
I don't know how Boban didn't score 35 points against the Rockets that first game.
And then we lose that game. We got a 35-point output from Boban, and we didn't win the game. We've won one game, and that was in overtime because Luka Doncic broke an Oscar Robertson record. It was just like, oh, this thing has been a record since the 60s, and it got broken. Like, we've had a civil rights movement since the last time this was done. And yeah, we're in a second one. Mm-hmm. We've had 2 civil rights movements since the last time this was done. And that's what it took to beat the Sacramento Kings. That's how bad our role players have been. This team is not built very well. And I think the bubble kind of exacerbates that problem because you don't have the fans to hype up those role players. I actually might even just spread this out to role players in general. are struggling in the bubble because they're not getting the boost from fans that they were getting.
Or you get, I mean, there's some guys, maybe even so much that more. There are a few role players that I feel like what they really brought to the team. You know, your energy. So what did your energy guys actually do? Did they energize your players, or did they energize your fans, which then energized your players?
Right.
The guys who it really sticks out for in Jordan's point are guys like Jordan Clarkson.
Yes.
Like guys that just will hit a few things and then be really good, and then all of a sudden the crowd gets into it and they've swung momentum. When there is no one for Jordan Clarkson to make go ooh and ah, I don't think he brings any value to the basketball court whatsoever. I think it's almost.
There are a few Jazz role players who are like that you're just like, ooh.
No, and I don't want to say it's an indictment on the Jazz, because the Jazz were set up to be a really good team, but you don't overcome that Bogdanovich injury when your whole offense was built around him.
Yeah.
Right. But your role players like that should be, you know, stepping up or not. You know, you have some role players that should be good, like Ingles should be good in a bubble environment. Just his skill set, you would think, would fit better. Royce O'Neal, he does all that hustle. You know, you've got even other, you know, Mike Conley has taken a step back, so he's kind of a role player. You've got Donovan Mitchell is a role player. No, I'm just kidding. He's overrated, but he's not a role player. But even he has not really taken – I figured that this bubble was where he was going to finally, like, step up and say, I am for sure in all ways better than Gobert. And he has not taken
this is my, and that's something. I'll even say this. That's something. It's kind of a disappointment in that. Like, I really expected, especially this year, like the announcement. And early on in the season, it was there. That was one of the only games I got to go to. I got to see Suns and Jazz, and in that game, it was Booker versus. I mean, that game I could sum up was Booker versus Mitchell. Mitchell was doing things to be like, no, this is my team. I'm Batman, Gobert's Robin. Like that was what it's supposed. That was the way it was setting up, and that was what was supposed. That's what it was supposed to be. That's right. I am biased. I like Mitchell for personal reasons. He said my school is awesome. I mean, so I will always like Mitchell. But so I mean, I'll be honest. I'm biased partially there, but he is good. He's shown flashes. He should have been Rookie of the Year. You know, that should have. I think he earned that position. We can debate there, but
Simmons was better.
Simmons wasn't a rookie.
Is better.
He was a rookie.
Yes, he was.
Didn't count. We're not getting that. That's not the conversation.
If
but
he wasn't a rookie, then neither was Larry Bird
or Blake Griffin, who both won Rookie of the Year.
Either way, he was in that thing. Like, he's supposed to be elite. He was supposed to have taken over, and he hasn't. And it's time to kind of figure out, like, what – okay, did we just – I'm not going to call him overrated, but it's just, okay, he's not where he's supposed to be.
I don't think it's hot takey for someone to say he didn't deserve his All-Star appearance. It should have been Booker.
Yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't. That's –
I mean, and that's not a knock on – and it's not really a knock on Mitchell. Like, I like him. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think I think he should be better than he is.
Yeah.
It's not that I think he's a bad player. Like he's got all the tools that he should be a modern version of Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
And I think he's more
shoot better.
He's not modern Dwayne Wade. He's modern Steve Francis. I like that better.
That's more what he's turned into. Which, if he's Steve Francis, he's already hit 1/3 of his peak. Like right. That's the scary part. Because I say that as a Rockets fan. Like Steve Francis was super fun to watch. He could dunk a lot, couldn't shoot, couldn't play defense, couldn't lead a team, didn't understand how to be a point guard. So yeah, like it fits.
Yeah.
Yep.
So so the Jazz kind of losing there, and that's kind of the teams that I can see losing.
If
The
you
other
want to go
thing
to a
that-
literal point,
Yeah.
If you want to go to a literal definition of losers, we could say the Kings and the Grizzlies that I don't believe have won a game yet.
Well,
I
okay,
think the
bubble.
Grizzlies won one game.
The Grizzlies did win?
I think one.
Okay. Well, they lost Jaren Jackson Jr., so they're not going to win again.
that's a little surprising. I expected Memphis to do somewhat better. I mean, the Kings will be the Kings until they prove they're not. Like,
but also
Right.
the Kings didn't come. The Kings and Suns did not come to the bubble with legitimate playoff aspirations. They came with our young guys need some reps.
yeah,
And I think they have done fantastic with it. We have seen Ayton and Booker put up some great showings. We have seen
hot take. Ayton's better than Jaren Jackson Jr.
I don't think that's takey.
Not just on defense, overall. Jackson Jr. is a better shooter. But as far as an overall offensive player, I still also take Ayton.
Okay,
And
so
this
the
is
whole
someone
big
who
man
wasn't-
discussion we just had, about all those, Ayton's in that discussion next year.
probably.
Oh, for sure.
No question about it. Ayton,
Well,
I think
the
Ayton's
only question
had
is
the best.
He plays for the Suns, and the Suns like to kill players.
That is true.
They just like to take good players and make them players
Yeah.
and ruin their career. Like, I don't think any of these players that come back, like, it's the Suns.
Dragic
It's
has
what you
done well
come-
since leaving. Dragic wasn't really good for the Suns, and then now he's been pretty good for the Heat.
Yeah. But it's
Dragic
because
had
he
that
was the
one
one that
amazing year for the Suns.
Yeah. I
But-
think
So yeah, Aiton's there, but the
Yeah.
Suns, and that actually begs kind of another question. Actually, that kind of goes to kind of a next point here
mhm.
of it. There were teams that were not. There were teams and therefore players that were not brought into the bubble.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get somewhat mathematical reasons and stuff like that, right? But like, if you're gonna bring the Kings and the Suns into the bubble, why aren't we bringing everyone into the bubble?
Right.
Like, I get not, but it's like
Well, the
no.
Wizards
there's
are the main one that's just absolutely.
There's a number of these teams where it's just kind of like, wait, you brought it in, but because they're here, other guys aren't. So who do you wish? Should there be? We'll start off with teams. Is there a team that, whether mathematically it made sense or not, is there a team that you would have been done better in the bubble than one of these bottom teams that's in there now?
Maybe not teams, but some individual players that I think would be incredible. Trae Young, the style of the bubble where shooters just seem to be doing awesome. Trae Young would be amazing in the bubble. Drivers also seem to be really good by having like under the basket cleared out. Like people can just really drive to the hoop. RJ Barrett would be so much fun to watch. Dennis Smith Jr. would be fun to watch, although the Knicks apparently don't know that. And so he's never played for the Knicks. Trying to think who else would be really good. Cat can stay out of the bubble. I'm just going to go all in apparently on Sean. So Cat, I don't really care to see. I think Wiggins could have been cool because Wiggins seems like a practice and like all-star game kind of vibe, like just amazing player when it's down to when there's not a crowd there. It seems like he's always better, like in any scrimmages and stuff like that. So with this being a non-crowd environment, I wonder if Wiggins would just look like we thought he was supposed to be.
Okay, so I think there's the big thing we're missing is we are missing the Josh Jackson effect. Josh Jackson, and Ben will know this as a local Phoenix guy. Josh Jackson, every year he's been in the league, right about this home stretch, the last 15, 20 games, every year, he goes from looking like he doesn't deserve to be on a court to all the teams that have already locked up their playoff seeding are playing backup dudes or are trying to tank. And all of a sudden he comes in and he gets a ton of minutes against all these lower tier players. And then he looks like an all-star. And
Speaking
Josh
of looks
Jackson
like
does
an
it.
all-star, we forgot to mention for winners, T.J. Warren. And if we don't mention that, it's ridiculous. Yeah. He is averaging 40 points a game right now in the bubble.
Yeah, T.J. Warren's been lights out.
I don't have anything else to say about T.J. Warren other than the Suns are stupid for trading him for literally change. Like they were like shaking. It was like, here's our empty cup. Will you give us change for T.J. Warren? And that's what happened. So
yeah.
TJ. By the way, T.J. Warren hit more 3-pointers the other night against the Sixers than he hit 4 more 3-pointers against the Sixers than he did his entire rookie year.
Yep.
So, I mean, lights out. Yeah, it would be remiss to have not mentioned T.J. Warren. But the thing we're missing is those guys that need these developmental reps right here at the end. It's why I think it was really good for the Suns and the Kings to bring people, even though they knew they really didn't have a chance to get in. It was important for them to push for it. If I was the Timberwolves management, I would have been like, I demand to be in the bubble because I want Cat and D'Angelo Russell getting minutes.
The Timberwolves probably should have. I mean, again, mathematically, okay, I don't know who I kick out. I don't know who you remove, but the Timberwolves probably should have been there. Like, there's.
Well, the point was this is just for seeding. This is just 8 games for seeding, and so I get why they're not in it. I get that, but these meaningless games, quote unquote, are where you develop players. It's why a few years ago Phoenix told Eric Bledsoe, take a hike. We don't want you. We know you're a free agent and you're leaving. So you're shut down for personal reasons. Mm-hmm. And they told him just not to play so they could figure out good players.
Another player that I wish was in the bubble and I wish was playing in the bubble is Zion. I really wish he would play. That is a shot at the Pelicans for not actually playing him more than like 16 minutes a game. I think he played like 24 last game.
Yeah, and guess what? They won.
Yep. It's almost like if you play Zion Williamson, good things happen to your team.
Alvin Gentry.
No, you lose draft pick position.
That's true.
I honestly think that's why the Wizards showed up, was to ensure they got a better draft pick position than some of the other teams in the Western Conference.
There's that. I don't want to. I know this. We're going basketball centric tonight, and I know some of you haven't checked, but as far as bubble stuff, like I really like the NHL has done for their bubble. Like
I like it a lot.
The NBA really should have done this. A round robin for your top 4. Maybe I don't know, but you're a round robin for your top 4. And then a best of 5 series for the rest of the positions.
Yeah. And
it's a fantastic thing. The games have been great. The series have all been great. But then at the same time, there's so much extra story. But the games matter. Everyone actually wants to win. So we kind of jumped in that, like,
you don't have like the Bucks played Giannis 15 minutes tonight this morning, and then we're like, this game doesn't mean anything. Let's just get the scrubs some playing time so they can be ready to go if they can.
You don't have that. The Lakers now, and here, coming from perspective, the Lakers have secured the number 1 seed, correct?
Yes, I think so.
Pretty close to mathematically. They're like the Clippers would have to win miraculously.
I think I saw that they actually, got it today.
So. I think that was today.
Yeah. Okay.
So are they actually going to play the rest of this thing?
More than just
get some guys some reps? I mean, okay. How many minutes is LeBron actually going to play in these next games until the playoffs start?
I think they limit LeBron's minutes. I think they limit AD's minutes.
Limit AD?
Hey, if I am Frank Vogel, I am playing every minute I possibly can out of Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm figuring out what they can give me. I want to figure out what they're able to give me during a playoff series.
Yeah, so it's a game. So, you got a huge situations where games no longer mean anything. for a bunch of teams. And it's just kind of like, it was just a really bad way to do it, where the NHL was like, no, we're going to make all of these games mean something.
I am surprised how hard teams are trying, though. Even like LeBron came out, especially I'm surprised with him when they said these games won't matter towards MVP, which was a dumb decision, should not have counted. But it was dumb, and it was a dumb decision. But to me, I'm surprised how hard LeBron has played in the first couple of games. I'm wondering if he takes a back seat a little bit now that they have for sure secured that seed. I wonder if he maybe starts pacing himself a little bit. But I don't think you have time to necessarily pace your players because they had 4 months off. You have got to ramp them up into game shape before the playoffs game. So
It's why James Harden chose to play 36 minutes in both scrimmages he played.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some parts of that, but at the same time, as far as, going full blow or watching these things, yes, I know our games have been really, really close. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. The games have been really, really close. So, I mean, I know we've seen a lot of that, but then at the same time, we've also seen other games that are not. I mean, games that are close for a bit, and then, I mean, I look at the Nuggets game last night. Yes, it was close. It went into overtime, and then it wasn't close anymore.
At all.
Like, you got your rating. Cool. All right, now go ahead and actually prove what was going on. But, I mean, so there's a lot of little stuff kind of going on there.
There's also been, no defense played in the entire bubble.
No, okay, so
NBA,
certain people have played really good defense.
But I'm talking about, as a team defensive schemes were the hardest thing hit by the hiatus, I feel like.
And you see that in the number of fouls.
Yes.
We're averaging almost 11 fouls more a game in the bubble than we were at the beginning of the year. And that's because rotations are so late.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
A little bit of that is because Scott Foster has reffed multiple games, but it's mostly the rotations thing.
Oh, is there anything else we want to hit before we wrap up tonight?
No, the only thing we have left really is predictions. Who? You don't have to give you don't have to give me a full bracket prediction, but give me one team that is that's gonna be in a spot that you didn't expect.
I think that
going into the bubble, who is going to be in a position you didn't expect them to be in?
Okay, I do think that the Mavs are going to have a valiant effort where, Kristaps is going to average 25 and 12, and Luka is going to average a 30-point triple-double, and they're going to get swept by the Clippers. And so I think that the Clippers and Lakers will probably meet in the Western Conference Finals. But for my actual prediction, I am going to say that the Rockets and the Lakers meet in the Western Conference Finals, and that the Heat and the Bucks meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that we are going to have a Rockets-Heat series.
So who are your 7 and 8 seeds?
The Mavs will be the 7th seed. And so my 8th seed, I believe, I'm going Spurs. You know what? It's either the Spurs or the Blazers for me. I'm going the Spurs. I'm going to say it. Greg Popovich is a wizard. But I think that we are going to have a Heat versus Rockets finals in which Jordan is going to beg that both teams can lose the finals.
All right. So my predictions, I've got about 4 different predictions. Number 1, I think the Blazers will get that 8 seed. I think they will. I just
want to point something out for those of you who only listen to audio of the podcast. Jonathan said number 1 and then held up 2 fingers.
Sorry.
So I just want to point that out.
Number 1. I'll hold up 1 finger this time. So number 1, the Blazers will get the 8 seed. I think they will be in control of the 8 seed going into the play-in games, and that gives them the edge to beat San Antonio. And then I think it's just going for the honor to get swept by the Lakers. So And then I think because the Lakers are the worst matchup of all playoff teams for the Blazers. And then I think that after that, Oklahoma City will be a top 4 playoff team. I think right now they're 6, but I think they will get into the top 4. I actually think our top 4 will probably be the both LA teams, Houston and Oklahoma City. 3 through 6 right now is nothing. Like, I mean, there's like a half game separating 3 and 6 in the West right now. I think Oklahoma City will get that first round, and I think they will win a first round series. I think Oklahoma City's 3-guard lineup with Gilgeous-Alexander, Schroeder, and Paul is the most devastating lineup in the NBA right now. I just don't think they have the depth to keep up with it for a long playoff run. I think prediction number 3 is I think the Clippers will win the West. I think Kawhi has had his is ready. And then prediction number 4, I think Boston gets swept by a lower seed in the first round of the playoffs. Boston has been pretty clearly one of the worst teams in the bubble. Jason Tatum is pretty clearly the worst lead superstar of any team in the top 5 of either conference. Jason Tatum's been pretty terrible. Kemba Walker's been and I think they will get swept by a lower seed, probably Philly, which is saying something. If you get swept by Philly, that means you were really bad, because Brett Brown might be the worst coach of any coach in the playoffs, in the playoff picture right now. And so, because I think right now they're looking at it right now, they're set to play Indiana, and I think Indiana smokes them. So that's prediction number 4 is Boston will flame out in the playoffs, because they've been, if we're talking about most disappointing teams in the bubble, it's been Boston. They have not played with any energy, any pace. Jason Tatum has looked awful, has looked terrible. And yeah.
I wouldn't be me if I didn't make a prediction based on ratings and what people want to see, or what people want to see.
Yeah.
The final, I mean, Western Conference, if any idea that it's not going to be LA versus LA in the Western Conference Finals is, it would take a miracle that not even Scott Foster could stop. That's what it would take. It
would take something like the Rockets showing up and James Harden and Russell Westbrook averaging quadruple doubles.
Or another team, like literally it would require someone on the Clippers, the Clippers or the Lakers to literally have the worst every one of their starting 5 to have the worst game of their career.
I know a scenario where the Clippers don't make the Western Conference Finals. Lou Williams goes back out for chicken wings.
No, they still make it.
I'm not touching that. No comment.
They still make it. Again, coming from a Rockets fan, you better hope he doesn't, because if he is, he's taking someone else with him. But
that's true.
And
they were teammates on the Rockets. Yeah.
The only thing that really can come, the only thing that's stopping it is just because I said if it's close, and yes, I play conspiracy things a lot, but if it's close, they're going to find ways to swing it to make sure it's Lakers versus Clippers. There's too much money to be made in this thing, and too much money to be made in Kawhi versus LeBron again. There's too much money to be made in all of that. There's too many ratings to be had to allow it to be anything different.
If we're talking about talent in the East, I think the Bucks get railroaded to the finals. I think the Bucks get railroaded to the Toronto and Miami look just as talented as the Bucks to me. Both Toronto and Miami look just as talented, but I don't see a scenario where, because we've seen it in every game the Bucks have played so far, no one's blowing the whistle on Giannis.
Yeah, there's a lot of little stuff there, but I'm not gonna make I'm saving if I'm only gonna allow myself one conspiracy pick there, and it's not even just a conspiracy pick. I mean, I'm not saying right now that if they see each other in the finals, it's because there was a conspiracy against them, but because they probably are objectively. If I look at it, who are the best two teams in the West?
To me, it's very clearly both LA teams
probably
are
the LA
best.
Teams. As a homer, I think the Nuggets are close. And I think
if they get their guards back, if they get their guards back, and I think that the way they play, the team ball that they play, I think can work a little bit better in the bubble with that no fan side. Yeah,
I just think
I actually think I'm going to be honest. I think the Jazz and Nuggets have been kind of screwed out of anything with their home court advantage unless they go and they put the other team's bench on oxygen deprivators, because not playing at altitude has, I think, sapped a lot.
They have to play in masks. That needs to be the rule. But yeah, but I mean but even beyond that, like I said, when I say it's that, I'm just saying if it's close, if there are questionable calls coming down late, now yes, there's going to be a drive to make sure it becomes, it's a long series leading up to that. But the push is definitely going to be to make sure that's the final. That's definitely going to be the finals matchup in the West. Anyone that thinks it's differently, I'm sorry. I have some beachfront property next door for that if you want to buy it, if that's what you want to look for.
Beachfront Arizona, by the way, for people who are wondering.
I live in Arizona. It's a song. But yeah. So that's kind of, it's hard to make prediction there. As far as the last few teams in, I mean, there's the handful of teams that could be. I mean, as of right now, Mavericks at 7, Grizzlies at 8, Blazers at 9, and Spurs at 10. With that there, I mean, that's –
well, the Mavs have already locked up their seed, so it's only the 8th seed that's up for
the Mavs already – yeah, that's right. It's only that 8th seed that's there. So, yeah. So it's –
and I think it's Portland and San Antonio. I think it's really Portland and San Antonio. Memphis, I think, is going to end up rolling over and dying because of Jaren Jackson Jr. being out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's kind of between there. I could even see, like I said, I can see them there. I could see any one of those three teams being in that position. From the other perspective, and I'm really only looking at the West because it's honestly the most thing that I have been looking at. I'll be honest, I kind of homered it up. I haven't really looked much at the East. There's no difference. I don't really think there's much difference between the 2 seed and the 3 seed. Whether the Nuggets get it or the Clippers get it, it's whoever gets it is going to win their first round or should win their first round matchup, no matter who it is. And they should play each other in the next round. That's the way that'll work out. I don't know. My thoughts on the Rockets are really tough because my resident Rockets expert will go from saying that they're the greatest team ever to play NBA basketball, then will also say that they're the worst team ever to play basketball, all in like the same, like back-to-back messages.
The thing is, it is the highest ceiling, lowest floor playoff push I have ever seen in any sport.
But yeah, so it's hard for me to actually know. I know nothing about the Rockets because
we could legitimately win the championship and it wouldn't surprise me, or we could end up the 6th seed and get swept in round 1 and I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's a good place to end the podcast right there.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where that. But anyway, everyone have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.